You were right about one thing. Tonight's the night, baby.
You're gonna fuck with Prater's rules after day one. Whoa, ballsy.
Yeah, I'll take my chances. This is usually the part where people start screaming and begging for their lives.
Yeah, well, I've been on the other side of this long enough to know when it's inevitable. Sorry to droop your chub. Would you at least do me a solid and knock me out first?
No. Why do you keep the skins?
I like looking at them. When that pressure starts building, they calm me. If I didn't have my skins, I'd have killed a lot more often. Got sloppy, got caught. Damn, I'm gonna miss them.
I know how you feel. So I'm going back to basics.
That's your trophy? Pretty lame for someone who saws off heads.
There's one thing I couldn't be honest about last night.
Is that right?
I'm not Ronald Schmidt. I'm Dexter Morgan.
Who's that?
The Bay Harbor Butcher.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mark.
And I'm Penny.
Today, we are covering one of the most epic Dexter episodes ever, Dexter Resurrection Episode 4, Call Me Red. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, just come back and check us out once you've finished. And before we dive into the episode, I would like to give a super warm welcome to special guest Penny. You have heard me mention Penny often, and I have had the absolute pleasure of podcasting with her before, but I realized when I was writing up this introduction, this is the first time Penny is joining us on What's On Tonight. So we are so excited. Welcome, welcome,
Yay.
welcome.
I am so excited that our schedules lined up. The shows you've covered in the past were on at a time when I was really busy and I couldn't keep up. So I was always like 4 weeks behind your coverage, and just coming on to guest would have been impossible. But when I heard you were going to be covering Dexter, I made a point of like making sure that I could start watching it at the same time that you were, so that this could happen.
I'm so excited. Thank you for that. So Penny, tell our audience about yourself and how you got the podcasting bug.
I first started podcasting for season 1 of Yellow Jackets with Podcastica. Up until that time, I was a podcast listener, and I had started sending in feedback and a couple of voicemails. And then Jason invited me to come on and do Yellow Jackets. And then after season 1 of Yellow Jackets ended, about 2 or 3 weeks later, he's like, "How you doing? You lonely? You miss podcasting? You bored?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And so we conceived together that I would cover She-Hulk. And then it's just been like a slew of podcasts ever since. And eventually I started a passion project, which is covering the entire run of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, which are shows that are very near and dear to my heart. And I know both of you are fans as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we are now in season 4 of Buffy, season 1 of Angel. And that's called Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast. And I would love it if people wanted to come join us over there and listen to us. We have a lot of fun. Becky has been on a couple of times, and she will again. Mark has been on, and we have guests on a lot because I just enjoy guests.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so fun. I often mention it in my podcast recommendations because your all's last coverage with Jim on Hush was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So
it was
good.
a really, really good episode. We just released last night our coverage of the movie Sinners.
I
which
finally
is
watched it.
A
I've yet
current,
to.
a pretty current movie, a 2025 movie. It's fantastic. Becky, what did you think of it?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was so, because our Penny invited me to come on, and unfortunately, due to family situations, I couldn't make it. And when I finally got to watch the movie, and you guys were recording by the time I finished watching the movie, and I was like, I have so much to say on this, and they're already recording, but I can't wait to listen to your all's thoughts on it because I know you're going to dig deep and find stuff that I didn't even see, but it ranks up there with the top vampire movies
Awesome.
that have been put out there. It was so good.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And we all agreed, there were 4 of us on the podcast, that we could have easily done like another 6 hours. Like there's so much material in the movie. We had to be kind of ruthless with ourselves and not cover every single thing we were interested in. When I sat down to start thinking about what I wanted to talk about on the podcast, I just jotted down like a list of potential topics off the top of my head, and it was 23 topics.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
And I was like, all right, obviously we can't do 23 topics.
And then you have the source material that you could actually utilize too, which you're going to be like, well, I'm here for another 20 to compare it.
Yeah, it's so good. It fits in really well with our whole thing at Still Slaying because, first of all, vampires. And secondly, we really like to find the messages behind the entertainment. And Sinners is multi-layered.
Mhm.
There are
Oh, yeah.
so many ways that Ryan Coogler has brought in real life history, amazing blues music, stunning performances, references to other, famous vampire or horror movies. It's just a real work of art. And I recommend everybody watch it and then, go look for our podcast because it's great.
That's what I have to do. I still have yet to watch it, so I'll listen to it as soon as I finish watching the movie.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Mark, you want to let us know what we're covering today?
Of course. Today we are covering Dexter Resurrection. Yes, I got it right this time, everybody. We didn't say reborn or born again.
Kelsey would be so proud.
The Dexter Resurrection, episode 4, entitled Call Me Red. And it was directed by Monica Raymond and written by Alexandra Franklin and Mark Mazinski.
So, Penny, I found this super long synopsis on Wikipedia. If you would share it with our listeners, and then when you're finished, let us know before we dive into this episode what you're thinking of the season as a whole so far.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Posing as Red, Dexter meets Leon Prater, a venture capitalist who runs a secret society of serial killers and has a large trophy collection celebrating infamous serial killers, including Arthur Mitchell, the Trinity Killer, Brian Moser, the Ice Truck Killer, and Dexter himself. Dexter finds himself drawn to the group, bonding with Mia LaPierre in particular, a serial killer targeting sexual predators who escaped justice after the rape of her sister. Dexter later kills Lowell in order to save his next victim. Inspired by Prater, Dexter resumes his practice of collecting bloodslide trophies. Angel arrives in town and unsuccessfully attempts to convince Harrison to tell him what he knows about Dexter's activities. Learning of Foster's murder, Angel offers his help to the NYPD, but doesn't tell them his suspicions about Harrison, determined to catch Dexter and sympathizing with Harrison. Harrison continues to struggle with guilt over Foster's murder, culminating in him nearly turning himself in to the police after meeting Angel and being rejected when he tried to kiss Elsa. But Dexter reveals himself to Harrison at the very last moment and stops him.
It was a great hook on the end.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
like, what? There's no next episode yet? Are you kidding me?
Do you know that is the longest episode
Yeah.
in Dexter series history? It was 66 minutes. It's the longest one they've had.
All right,
Exactly.
I thought I was imagining things because when I was watching it through yesterday, I was like, how much is going to happen in this episode? Is this like a 2-hour movie? What's like,
Exactly.
there was just so much going on.
And we mentioned last week, and I brought it up when we were discussing it, saying, hey, there's so much that has to be explained about a lot of these characters, where it's going, and they only have X amount of episodes. And I stated, they need to either go longer with the episodes or really cut to the chase and do creative writing within the script to get it, move it along perfectly, so you don't lose things and you have things that happen off camera or a scene that didn't even evolve. It's something They just say in passing and talking. So with this, we got to see a hell of a lot, which I really did enjoy. And like you said, it was long, but I thought
Everything was great. Every
was
moment
great.
was great.
It was packed.
Before we go full into this discussion, because I've got 4 pages of notes, so I'm quite certain we all have a lot to say, but I do want to hear Penny's thoughts on what you thought of the first. I mean, we've gotten your feedback, and which thank you for that, by the way. But what are your overall thoughts of how the show is going?
I'm really enjoying it. I am one of those people who didn't watch the original series to the end. I bailed after the John Lithgow season. I don't think that anything can ever be better than that particular season of Dexter. That was really the high watermark. I enjoyed New Blood. I thought it was an interesting story. I really enjoyed, what's her name? Janet Jones. I thought she was fantastic. And I think Jack Alcott, who's cast as Harrison, is a really nice contrast to Dexter because he's got a sweetness to him.
Mm-hmm.
That really works. And I was frankly surprised at how much I liked Dexter Origins.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's so good. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is, but it's so good. And then I was like, okay, I'll give this Dexter Resurrection thing a chance. Like the fact that Michael C. Hall was excited about it and is executive producing it, I was like, that bodes well. He has good taste. He knows this character better than anybody else in the world. And so far, I'm really liking the season. I like the switch up to an urban setting. He started out in Miami, which is a pretty big city, but New York City, there's nowhere else in the world quite like it. And I lived in New York City for a few years, so it's near and dear to my heart. And I'm really enjoying this new older Dexter who is thinking about maybe the code needs some adjustments and struggling with whether or not to be a part of Harrison's life. I find all that really interesting. And this episode is the best one of the season so far.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So much. So with that, let's get into killer moments. And I would like to start with the dinner party. And I have a lot to say about this, so bear with me and just jump in whenever. But the first thing I want to say, and if anyone has listened to any of mine and Mandy's episodes together, I love being right.
Yeah.
And the first thing I want to say here is I was right. The blood slides were there. He had
Wild.
the blood slides.
I have it in my notes. Becky called it.
Yay,
On the blood slides.
Penny.
Yep.
I have it in caps. The blood slides. I knew it.
That was so great too when he went over and lovingly ran his fingers over them.
He was so it was like seeing a friend you haven't seen in 20 years. He felt
he's
that.
getting those back by the end of the season.
Yes, he has to.
100%. There's a reason we saw the whole if you enter the wrong code, yada yada yada.
And then Charlie will come out and kill you.
Yeah, that's going to come back later.
It is. Within that scene itself, which was really cool, is that Prater was talking about, and he literally talks about Dokes. He kind of alludes to it, stating that it was an FBI agent that was doing the killing.
Well, he said that it was an FBI agent who with a gambling problem.
Correct.
How he got the blood slides.
Yeah.
Okay. So because it kind of, I thought it was alluding to Dokes when I was watching it, but if it was somebody with a gambling issue, who do we know?
Because the people we know are Miami PD, not FBI agents. Do we know?
Correct.
No,
So
I gave it too much thought, but I couldn't think of any FBI agent that they left that was a big important part of the story. Yeah, that's alive.
Well, yeah, they were dead.
It could have just been, it's just a random
yeah,
person
that could be a
who got
throwaway.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been a throwaway line. Yeah.
So I made a list of the items that we saw highlighted in the room. So there was John Wayne Gacy's clown costume, and I like Dexter's reaction at first. So he's like, my greatest obsession. And he's like, clowns.
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey Dahmer's fridge, complete with dried blood. That was lovely. The Ice Truck Killer's deathbed. The New York Ripper's hook. Now, is the New York Ripper a real serial killer? Or was that Is that like a show?
Oh, you know what? I forgot to look that up.
I was going to look that up too, and I didn't go back to it, but
I mean, if they were going to go with an actual historic famous New York serial killer, they probably would have gone Son of Sam.
correct.
Yeah. That may have very well been there. There was a lot. I mean,
There
I'm
was
a
a
little
lot
freaked out at how much that dude had because there was
The
Ted Bundy's.
flight attendant killer's mask,
Yeah.
but I don't even know who that is.
I think that's made up.
Same here.
There was Charles Manson's guitar?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
boy, when he saw the Trinity Killer's hammer,
Yep.
Rapunzel's ponytail things, and then the tattoo collector.
And then you had Ed Gein's lamp.
Oh, the spine?
Yes.
Yeah, that was lovely.
That was taken out of Ed Gein.
It was gruesome.
Yeah. So I thought that was just a well put together scene. I tip my hat to the set design and how this dude's house is ridiculous. And there was a lot of comments as we're kind of getting into the mind of Prater. Phenomenal acting by Peter Dinklage, but his absolute glee for these serial killers and how calmly he talks about how these people need a safe space. And when Dexter asked him what he does, and he's like, well, long story short, even with his venture capitalism, he brings the best, most passionate people together. And he's not a serial killer, just a huge fan, and he doesn't have the skill set or imagination to do what they do. But I really I don't know if liked is the right word, but I thought his conversation where he's talking about how he's collecting death and fascinated with death because it's just such a natural part of life. And he strives to get the best of everything. So why not get the best of death, which is why he has this fascination in this crazy trophy room.
I saw a parallel to this too. If you think about it, with Silence of the Lambs, with the collections that they had in that, or even Hannibal the series. I never really watched Hannibal, but I know there was an allusion to because of the collectors of serial killers, which also makes me think about Prater because he brings these people together, but you could see Dexter looking at him questionably because there's something aloof and strange about Prater himself. So he's got a problem himself, even though he is a public figure, because you see him on billboards, but yet this is his little hidden trophy area. So he himself is hiding, I hate using the term, dark passenger. I think there's something else sinister underlying all that. But you could get that right away from his collection and him gathering all these serial killers together as a convention, which also reminded me of when we were covering Sandman on Sandman Cast, because there was a serial killer convention in that series. It didn't pan up to this one, which I prefer this one over that one. But a lot of you listeners of that will remember that. And when Jamie and I talked about it, but this one was very interesting just because of how casual it was and how Prater's distinct knowledge of every killer he bring in there. Ron being Dexter or Red, knowing that he's a vegan and preparing a meal for him, and everybody else with their, what was that? It was like, it looked like big ribs, very rare.
Ribeyes. Those
They
were
were
ribeye
very
steaks.
rare. They
Yeah.
were very rare.
Those were tomahawk steaks, I think, with the way the bone was sticking out. But I
Expensive.
thought that was very funny and great facial acting by Michael C. Hall when he has to eat all that vegan food, which, man, I went vegan for 6 weeks and it was the most miserable 6 weeks of my life. So a couple other key points from the dinner. We learn that Keith, the Canton Clubber, will not be joining them. So we know Prater has rules and what happens when you don't follow the rules. I found each guest very interesting, and I made a list of each of the guests. The show and tell and kudos to Neil Patrick Harris and them deciding for him to play this particular role. But that wig, did anybody else think that wig was horrible?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
It made him look like a serial killer.
It
I was like,
did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was awful. But I'm curious as far as what comes next is, he talked about he has events planned for the next 2 weeks.
Mhm.
What kind of serial killer group activities are there? And do you think there's going to be like a group kill?
Oh,
I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised. I was thinking about this because I've been to a lot of corporate retreats and
That's what was going through my
Yeah.
head.
My head, too.
like
yeah,
management training sessions and team building exercises. And I was like, are they going to do like a ropes course together? Are they going to have to like take a personality test and
The
then
trust
like
fall.
do trust? Oh, I hate trust falls. Are they going to have to like do some kind of adventure, like orienteering in the woods? Or I don't know. There's so many dopey things that corporate retreats make you do to bond with your coworkers. And I just had a sort of a fun idea, like fun time thinking about like these guys in some hotel ballroom, like listening to somebody talk about like, I don't know, how yoga breathing can help you get through your corporate work day and be more productive. And I flashed back to some incredibly annoying corporate meetings I've been in.
Well, it's so funny you talk about that because within this episode, we do get a little bit of that. It's like a little show and tell with
Oh, with a PowerPoint?
his
Oh my
vacation slideshow
God.
and his new focus for his new kill. So it was like everybody kept saying it and we're mocking it. Mia was saying that oh great, it's going to be a vacation slideshow.
Well, and then he tells Dexter he needs to be ready for the show and tell next week. And Dexter's
Correct.
like, does it have to be a presentation?
That seems a little, I don't know, ridiculous.
And I love how Prater required them to bring one of their trophies. Like, since he's new, he had to bring one of his. The others already had prepared that because they were there before. Apparently, this has been going on for a few years.
At least 4. That's
4.
how many years Mia
Yeah.
has been attending.
Correct. Others have been to this before, so obviously they did not get killed for whoever shows up. So it's not Reservoir Dogs by the end of their little convention together. And the fact that we get like really good actors in this, you get David Dastmalchian in there.
Oh, I cannot wait for his focus episode.
I think he is going to be the top, I don't know, contender or focus or so. Like, if it's all right, let's go through the guest list. So first we have Mia, played by Kristen Ritter, who's a wine sommelier, kills sexual predators, and seems like she's got some kind of code like Dexter. She's known in the media as Lady Vengeance, which she does not like. And she's got a very good eye on Prater. She reads him like a book. She seems to read all of these people like a book, but she understands he just likes to own things and people. Great chemistry with Dexter. Loved her calling out some of these guys for their mommy issues. Then we have Al, my favorite, because I love some Eric Stone Street, who's known as Rapunzel. Family man, cracking me up, talking about his kids and his family. Dexter was very curious how he managed to balance that when we know that didn't work out with Dexter. We have Lowell, played by Neil Patrick Harris, who is the tattoo collector, cocky bastard, horrible wig, and Mia does not like him at all. And then Gareth, that you were talking about with David Dastmalchian, who is the Gemini killer, and he is quiet and elusive. All right, there you go. That's our guess. So what did y'all think? Penny, let's start Penny. Do you hear my Carter County accent come out there? Penny, let's start with you.
That accent is why when I was a little kid living in Southern Virginia, I thought peonies, the flower, and penny were the same word.
That's great.
I thought peonies were my special flower. They're still my favorite flower. I was so excited when the guests started arriving at the dinner party. It was just like one awesome guest star after another. right? Like we'd already had Peter Dinklage, and I had known from some press photos that he was going to be in the season. So I was a little prepared for him to show up, but I carefully avoided press. So I didn't expect Kristen Ritter. I didn't expect Neil Patrick Harris. I didn't recognize Eric Stonestreet at first. I was like, I know that guy. Where do I know him from? And I looked it up and it blew my mind because, of course, mostly I know him from Modern Family, where he's this like sweet, jolly dude.
And then the same dude, but
like a serial killer version of him. And he has that like horrible hairstyle that's like combed in a weird way that makes him creepy, and the creepy glasses. Great. And then when David Dastmalchian walked in, I was like, well, that guy like obviously is born to play a serial killer because he's just so good at being weird.
Yeah.
I texted Becky like a few minutes after the assembled guests and was like, I'm so glad this is my episode because like I love all of these people. And it was so funny. I didn't write down their real names in my notes. I wrote down Jessica Jones.
Yeah, that's Mark. That is that's how Mark's referred to her anytime he's mentioned her popping up in this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Doogie Howser and Tyrion Lannister. And then I was like, David Dastmalchian, I cannot remember the name of the character he plays in Ant-Man. And then for Eric Stonestreet, I had just written down, I know this guy. And then later I looked him up. It's Cam from Modern Family. But I was thrilled by the assembled guests and the sort of diversity of style of serial killer represented among them was pretty fun. And I love that Dexter is referring to the group as a buffet. Like he's going to eat all of them, you know, metaphorically by killing them, Bay Harbor Butcher style. And the way that he was looking around the room, like sizing everybody up. And you know, we know that he's Dexter. So we know that he's like, all right, I got to figure out all of their different styles so that I can track them and get hard evidence and do my whole thing. Like it was delightful to me to have this slew of guest stars. It's just great.
I like the way they each talked about what they feel or what their urges are, and you know, the itch, the great yearning, the need, the urge. I thought that was it just so weird to have so much enjoyment of watching serial killers sit around talking, like you said, just like normal. It's just a normal thing. And it was it was absolutely fascinating. All right. Anything else on the dinner you guys want to talk about?
Well, just to add to it is when Dexter's walking around, even with Mia, she's giving him information about Prater. Prater is a collector, like you said. He likes to own people, own things, especially with the trophies of serial killers. And it sounds to me it's more of like a control. Kind of like, I hate saying it, like Lex Luthor being part of the head of the Legion of Doom, gathering all his enemies, not to use a comic reference, but I usually go that way. But the stuff that he also collects, he had the smaller version of the Statue of Liberty, which there have been several prototypes that were made by France to bring to America. And apparently he bought one and it's in this building.
Yeah.
Shows you the immense amount of wealth this guy has.
Yeah.
And now what was his job really? What did they come up with? Was he a lawyer or
he's a VC. So I have a whole point about Prater.
Let's go into it.
Yeah. So he is a venture capitalist, and I, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, have had a lot of experience working with venture capitalists. When I was a lawyer in private practice, I had a bunch of VCs as clients, and they are a sort of particular breed of people who making money and having money is the be all end all of their personality and their goals in life. And they think that the more money they have, the better and more, worthy of a person they are. They think they're above the law. They are collectors. They love trophies. When finance people and venture capital people do big deals, they make trophies for them and distribute them among the key people in the deals. They call them deal trophies, and they come in all shapes and sizes, but a lot of them are sort of lucite, blocks that, say the name of the deal, and they always say the total dollar value of the deal, like right there on the trophy. And I just have always thought it was super tacky. But when you go into any like venture capital office, they have like shelves of these trophies and they're so proud of them. And I'm like, that is just dust collecting junk. But okay. They also really do think that they own people and deserve to own people, and that their money gives them the right to tell people what to do. And the sad thing is that it kind of does de facto give them that right. I don't think it's a right so much, but like look at even Mia, who clearly doesn't like Prater, but she's like, I like the money, so I come here and I do this because it's good money. And most fascinating to me is Charlie, who is clearly a woman of great skill, of great power, who thinks that serial killers are gross and disgusting.
Yeah,
like
she
every
does
time
not like any of that.
She interacted with them, she was like, ew. And like at the end, when Prater was like, that was a very successful gathering, she's like, if you think so. So I'm like, why does Charlie work for Prater if she thinks that his taste is so gross? I also have found that with extremely wealthy people, what they want to collect is the thing that is the hardest to get and the most expensive. Because this is me, they are vampires, they have shallow lives, they get all of their self-esteem from their material possessions. And so in our world, you have examples of extremely wealthy people like collecting like one-of-a-kind dinosaur fossils and, rock star memorabilia, or wanting to own like the house that some true crime happened in. This kind of collecting is very, very realistic for people with this kind of money. I think that Mia's description of him as a vampire was spot on, in the sense that he is a parasite on society. All he does is move money around, but he thinks that makes him a creator and a master of the universe. That's what these people call themselves. And what he really is a parasite on the other people who actually make things. But because he has money, he gets to be this way. And it's so empty and devoid of meaning. And in this particular case, creepy as fuck, he makes these people come and give him presentations about their murders, and he's all like giggly about it. And the dinner is so fancy, right? The food is fancy, the setting is fancy. He's all excited about this expensive wine that he has, and how sophisticated he is to know about these wines, right? And it's all these trappings of sophistication and civility that he thinks makes it like somehow okay, that he's like, oh, serial killers deserve a safe space where they could talk to each other. No, serial killers deserve to be put in prison or something worse. But because it's got the trappings of civility, it like makes him feel like it's okay and that he's above it all somehow. I'm a big fan of the media that has been coming out in the last several years that all sort of falls under the category of eat the rich. There's been a lot of this eat the rich material. The 2 seasons ago on You was a really good example, because they were calling the serial killer in that the eat the rich killer. And there was a bunch of other stuff coming out around the same time, like The Menu and some other movies like that were all basically about how rich people are a parasite and a blight on society, and they deserve to be killed by a serial killer.
Like the movie The Hunt.
Yeah. So here we have this perfect example of this parasite who happens to have a lot of money. And what does he do with all this money and power that he has? He enables serial killers. You are disgusting. And your hobby is disgusting. And I have no respect for you. And just because you have money doesn't make you like a worthwhile person. And I'm so excited because I think there's no way we get out of the season without Dexter killing Prater.
I was getting ready to ask.
I was going to say that too.
But and I guess you mentioned earlier about Dexter's thinking his code needs some adjustment. As of right now, Prater does not fit the code.
I think he can stretch the code very easily to say that a person who gives money and encourages serial killers and also has Charlie go around killing people, right? Like he's also a murderer, like he hires a murderer. Like I don't think it's a far stretch to make him fit Dexter's code. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that at all.
I foresee seeing Mr. Peter Dinklage hogtied and set up like a roasted pig on a table. sometime at the end of the season, which would be
Oh,
an interesting.
I hope they don't do the apple in the mouth thing. That would be very disturbing. But I would like to see
Correct.
him in one of his own trophy cases. I think that would be great.
Ooh,
That would be amazing.
that would be an interesting scene.
That would be good. All right, Mark, where would you like to go next?
Well, I would like to go with Mia and Dexter and their getting to know you, because they were getting a little bit chummy at the dinner, but then she wants to meet up with him the next day. They go jogging. Lovely scenes in Central Park and in and around that area. I'm very familiar with it. Lived in New York City for first 28 years of my life, so I knew right where they were filming. And actually, it's funny when they were filming this particular episode, and I remember seeing it on Instagram through Kristen Ritter's Instagram because she posted a video, and then other people were leaking it, and I was like, oh, well, I'm spoiled. But the fact is that how intimate their conversation was after the jog on the bench, and her giving him her history, and then him also giving some of who he truly was, what he experienced, like with basketball and a kid, and how
That was a great callback.
It was wonderful to go back to that, and then showing her and her giving her why she did what she did and why she does what she does. It's like a true meet cute situation where they, it fills out later on when she invites him back to her Airbnb, which is provided for her by Prater. And I love the scene when she goes, oh, I got pastries. And he's thinking, oh, great, I could have pastries. And then she goes, oh, and then she hands him the vegan pastry
made of kale. Oh,
that looks
my
so gross.
gosh.
Vegan pastry does not need to be gross. I have had very delicious vegan pastry. You don't have to put kale in things just because you're a vegan. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Me.
Of course, that scene elaborates more into her going in and him seeing the jewelry box, which also alludes to a previous story at the bench about her with the ballerina and the ballet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a ballerina on the jewelry box, but that's where she keeps her trophies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure this is what he realized it, and he knew. And then she goes to go into the shower and pretty much invites him in. And the scene with Harry. So I have a funny feeling because Dexter always seems to get the strangest women in his life.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever notice, like the British chippy that he got involved with after.
I was thinking about her because this reminded me a lot of that. She was season 2 of the original Dexter, and he met her at the
Later
addiction 12-step group.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Right?
she burned her apartment to get his attention, and
Yeah, she was
He
cuckoo
ended
for
up
Cocoa
going to
Puffs.
and then
England
blaming.
to kill her.
Yeah. And then she was
Is
involved
she the
with
one
Angel.
who actually killed Dokes? Am I mixing that up? Is she
She
the
accidentally-
She did.
She did.
She blew up the
the
set
cabin.
fire or something.
the cabin.
Yeah, she is. You're right,
Yeah.
Penny. She's the one who ended Dokes.
But every
Yeah.
woman that he gets involved with has some sort of history or problematic, and they're always extremely attractive.
Well, it's TV.
I know.
All the women on this show and all the Dexter shows, all of them are extremely attractive. It's just he lives
yeah.
in a world of attractive women.
Yeah, we had the only difference out of that was obviously his wife, who is normal. She never had a problem.
She had
Unfortunately.
issues though.
But she
had
did
a
have
lot
issues.
of issues.
She had trauma.
Right?
She was processing a lot of trauma that
Abuse
made her
from her ex-husband, which Dexter wound up taking care of.
Well,
at a
but
certain
that's
point.
why he was so attracted to her, is because she didn't want intimacy. She kept him at arm's length, and she was the perfect quote unquote cover for
Yeah,
him.
she was a beard for him for the first 4 years of their relationship.
Yeah.
And then you had Lumen, who we brought up last week, played by Julia Stiles.
I'm still
What was-
genuinely hope she comes back.
Same here. And
I don't remember her. Was she in that final season that I didn't watch?
No.
No, she was the one who was kidnapped and being held and drugged and assaulted, and Dexter ends up figuring out who the killer is, saves her, and then she ends up going rogue and finds the guy who did it to her, and Dexter helps her cover up her kill.
Yeah.
All right, that's coming back to me.
Yeah. And then she loses her dark passenger, and then she kind of moves on. We never hear from her or about her ever again, which makes me think, and that's why me and Becky are like, we can't wait for if this character does come back. And I wouldn't put it past the writing crew to come back and say, hey.
They clearly have a good budget for guest stars.
Oh, yes. That they do. But I really want to see what comes of this this relationship between Mia and Dexter. Does she help him during this? Does she figure out? These are things that are going through my head as the development of the story and where we're going.
Yeah.
But I just love the fact that Harry, throughout that conversation in the apartment, and while she's trying to entice him into, he goes, don't you have that happy hour with Lowell? Oh, and he kind of smacks him in the back of the head, Harry. And I think that was like the first time you ever saw physicality from what was going on in Dexter's mind as Harry playing a version of himself in his head. But there was like a physical in the back of the head of like, get it straight. You shouldn't be getting involved with these people or whatever. And I thought that was great because Rimar is perfect whenever he executes that. And his execution on all his verbal and his dialogue to Dexter as far as influencing him. And he's the one that Penny pointed out to Dexter that he's altering the code for what he needs to, and how he shouldn't be getting so close or involved with these people as well.
Yeah, Harry is such an interesting character because he's a little sanctimonious with Dexter, right? He's like, follow the code, no straying from the code. But also, I'm the cop who, created you and turned you into a serial killer. And I think that's okay. Like, Harry is a piece of work. But he thinks he's like better than other people.
But you've got to remember the Harry that you're seeing isn't Harry. It's Dexter's
mind.
Psyche.
Yeah.
So I have to remind myself of that when I start to roll my eyes sometimes. I'm like, this is all in Dexter's head. So it makes what Harry says to him even more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's Dexter's conscience telling him, or I don't know, conscience is the right
trying
word,
to rationalize certain things in his own head, but using Harry as that vehicle of being some sort of conscience to what he's doing and making sense of it, rather than going completely rogue and like full serial killer.
When Dexter New Blood ended, with Dexter like bleeding out in the snow and Harrison in the wind, I thought they were going to go with a season, like the next show was going to be Harrison becoming a serial killer with Dexter in his head.
That's exactly what I thought.
That's what I
thought
thought
they
too.
were going to continue the series. And I mean, I'm glad they went this way. This is great. But I fully believed that for like 2.5 years. I was like, that's what's going to happen.
Well, that segues nicely into my next main point is Harrison. And Penny, you called it earlier at how amazing this young actor is.
Yeah.
And I thought when he first runs into Batista, and I liked the little callbacks of, Jamie babysitting and the train set, just giving us OG Dexter's fans just a little nostalgia. But what I really liked about Hexter. That's their relationship name is Hexter. How Harrison, the unraveling in this episode. So, he first meets with Batista and it looks like it's just a normal chill conversation. Then Batista mentions his concern that Dexter may have been the Bay Harbor butcher, and he's just looking for Batista is starving for some level of clarification. And Harrison's not giving it to him. But also Batista realizes Harrison does not realize that his dad is still alive. So that was a very interesting choice on Batista's part not to let that out. But where he really spirals is when he goes to Elsa's house, because the ticking of the watch, and a great job by editing and sound, piecing all that together. So you felt that tension and
his
stinging
conscience was ticking in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Edgar Allan Poe, right? It's the
Yeah.
Telltale Heart.
Correct.
Yeah. That's good. I didn't catch that. That's a good reference. So, and Dexter's watching him from afar, thinking Harrison's genuinely happy, and then he gets rejected and he freaks out. And as he's walking down the street, he makes that comment that he fucks everything up. And then his friend, it's like, hey, did you sell me a stolen truck? The cops were looking for it, and there he is. And it's Batista. And Batista now knows, because Elsa, thinking she was doing the right thing for Harrison, tells Batista he didn't have anything to do with that murder, and gives up all the details of Ryan Foster, which Batista pieces together. And when he looks at Harrison and he tells Harrison, I really hope you don't end up like your father, was, I think, the final tick in the watch or in the clock that Harrison's just like, I can't do this. I cannot be this guy. And so he makes the call. She doesn't answer. And then he goes to the police station. And then we get that amazing ending of Dexter putting his hand on his shoulder and telling him to stop. But I thought Batista telling Harrison that Dexter thought he was doing the right thing by taking out these bad people, but what he ended up doing was getting a lot of innocent people killed because of that. And I think that all of that really hit home with Harrison. And I loved watching this actor show us just this slow progression throughout this entire 66 minutes of where he's going. And then surprise, hey, Dad's not dead. So let's just add more trauma to poor Harrison's brain. I really like that whole storyline and how they finally brought it together.
That scene was really, really good, though, between Batista and Harrison, in the sense that he kept feeling that information of, like, he was kind of alluding it to Harrison that he knows that you're the son of a serial killer. The body in this situation was cut up 9 times and dismissed by the Bay Harbor butcher. And it's like basically telling him, Harrison, I know your father's the Bay Harbor butcher, and who would learn best had to remove a body and cut it up and do everything that your father did exactly. But it's also in the same exact building where the murder happens, where you currently are now, basically trying to edge at Harrison slowly to divulge, hey, I did do this. And then, of course, during that walk of him calling Detective Claudette and her not picking up, and then him making that walk, but you hear the clicking, you hear the ticking of the clock or the watch, and then everything that Angel was telling him was running through his head, forming that in his consciousness of what bothering his conscience, I should say. And then him having to do the right thing in his mind. And then that's when Dexter shows up. So I think that buildup was there to finally get these two together.
Yeah.
But my question is where will Harrison stay if he's not going to stay in the hotel? Do you think
is he going to go move in to Dexter's basement apartment? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. What do you think is going on with Harrison and the watch? Because early on, when the murder first happened and the detectives were first asking questions, and they were like, did you have any contact with this guy? And he's like, yeah, I got his cleaning for him, and he had me buy weed for him. Does not mention he had me get his watch fixed for him. And then when the watch place calls and they're like, oh, we can drop it off, he's like, no, I'll come pick it up. And he keeps the watch. Like, the watch story if he had told it right away, is completely innocuous, right?
Mhm.
A hotel guest gave you a watch to get fixed. It's at the watch shop. Oh, here it is. It's fixed. Here, if you want it for evidence. That is such an easy, completely not suspicious story. The
I
fact that he's
think it's a
hidden
trophy.
it, right? Is it Harrison's first trophy?
That's
And
what I think.
it's haunting him. And that got me thinking about the trophies in general and like why the trophies and what causes people to collect trophies. And of course, I used Google and I found an article about why do serial killers take trophies. This is from a 2021 article by Becca Van Sambeck, which is a great name, right? Becca Van Sambeck,
Wow.
for Oxygen True Crime. And she talks a lot about New York's deadliest serial killer, who was Joel Rifkin. He confessed to 17 murders, and the police at first were like, no way, he's just being grandiose. But because he had kept trophies, they were able to tie him to all of these murders, and he was eventually convicted. And this article, we should link it in the show notes, talks a lot about the reasons for trophies and the different kinds of trophies. Some collect body parts like bones, eyeballs, fingernails, and they specifically reference Ed Kemper and Jeffrey Dahmer. Ed Gein created the lampshades. We saw that spine lamp thing, corsets and other furniture out of human flesh. Others, like James Lloyd, collected high heels. Yvonne Milat, the backpack killer, kept sleeping bags belonging to his victims. There are a lot of theories about why they do this, and the FBI distinguishes between murder souvenirs and murder trophies. And souvenirs are used to fuel fantasies, while a trophy is taken as proof of skill. It's something that makes them feel powerful, even though in their lives they generally feel unpowerful, which is what sort of leads to this psychosis that makes them into serial killers. And they take the trophies out and sort of touch them and think about them in order to feel powerful again, and it becomes a fetish object. I thought this was so fascinating because then it's like Prater has this indirect fetishization of the trophies, right?
Yep.
He has power in the real world. He has money power, but he wants this kind of power. And the only way he seems to be able to get it is vicariously, although I don't completely believe that he's never killed anybody.
Same here.
They also take trophies because taking the trophy becomes a signature for them, and they're sort of proud of their work, and it becomes part of their ritual, right? And that's what we saw with Dexter being like, I'm going to go back to my thing. I'm going to make blood slides. And the fact that he like improvised it with the tattoo glass thing was really funny to me.
Yeah, with the picture frame glass. Yeah.
That was really hilarious. Also, a lot of serial killers who have been interviewed say that they take sexual pleasure from the trophies and that they use it as masturbatory aids. And that just grossed me out. And I stopped Googling after that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. If you'll send me that link, I'll make sure to post that in show notes because that's creepy and fascinating all at the same time.
That was exactly my take on it. I'm not a person who watches like or listens to true crime a lot. I know a lot of like my demographic, middle-aged white ladies are like true crime people. But yeah, Mandy, Kara, and Sam, both big true crime people. I am not, but I like fictional crime stories.
Same here.
And I also like sort of news about crime. I don't know, true crime documentaries and true crime like podcasts it's like a little too visceral for me.
There's something that I want to add to that between the watch. Now, you have to think some of these watches that are by rich people they have serial numbers, they have information whenever they get worked on. So that jewelry place that was fixing and repairing the watch probably would have to register stating that they've fixed this, because some of these watches go up to thousands of dollars. I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars.
And it had his name on it.
And it had his name on it as well. Harrison holding on to that, but also the jewelry store having his phone number to call him. That could be traced and led back to Harrison by any investigator. Now, those of you who have been watching the Apple TV Plus show, my friends and my neighbors with John Hamm, and he was stealing all that. And that's what came to my head going, they have all this stuff documented. A lot of these $40,000, $100,000 watches that are out there are traceable. They have serial numbers on them as well, and they only show value of with their own box. But the fact is any work, just like a vehicle or a classic vehicle, they have to be registered of saying any repair that had happened to it. And this could be all traced back to Harrison at a given point if Claudette goes even more in investigating, because maybe Elsa accidentally says something to Claudette about his watch to her or to Angel, and that gets back to her. They're able to trace that back to Harrison at any given point.
He also left it in the safe.
Yeah, that's dumb. We also know that she has decided to take a step back and start fresh, looking at all the evidence, which could lead her to the watch. Like, if he wore that watch all the time, chances are whoever's doing the autopsy on the body parts is going to be like, it looks like he wore a watch regularly.
There's going to be a tan line.
Yeah, or an indentation or something. So then she's going to be like, where's the watch? And then somebody's going to know he had this expensive watch, and that could lead to Harrison. It could be a trail that will lead to some kind of showdown between Dexter and Detective Claudette, maybe.
It's coming. Something is coming there. I did think it was real funny with Claudette, real quick, where her partner's telling her that, she needs to do something outside of all of this, intense work that she does. And she says that she has taken on an extracurricular activity, a public or not public speaking, but whatever they're called. And he's like, oh, about what? She's like, the New York Ripper. So I just love her. She was very brief in this episode, but man, when she's on, she stands out and I love her.
I think the casting on her is amazing. I love what this actor is doing with the part. The way she always has a sour look on her face and her eyes always seem like she's thinking of something far away. Like, she is not in the world with us now. That's why she uses the headphones. She's definitely reading neurodivergent to me.
Oh, yeah.
And obsessive. And she uses the constant, Bee Gees song as like a way to dampen the real world so that she can think clearly. And I just find her fascinating. And I love everything about this character. And her partner is hilarious. The way he's like, oh, if you're dealing with her, she's a genius, but there's like tricks and rules. You just have to know how to work with her. Like, I have a neurodivergent person in my life who I love dearly. And I have often introduced him to people and been like, can I just give you the rules? And told them like, there's this and there's this and there's this. And then after you know those things, he's like a delightful person. But if you don't know those things, he can be very frustrating. So I just like to fill people in on, the rules.
Okay, so my last main point is the kill. And I loved Dexter when Lowell wakes up and Dexter's like, tonight's the night, baby. Just get the tap on the forehead. You're getting that early seasons of the OG Dexter. And I really thought it was interesting how calm Lowell was.
Because he's a psychopath and does not have normal emotions.
Well, he also knows the deal from that standpoint, and he was prepared for it in his own head that I could scream, plead, and do anything, and it's not going to do me a hill of beans. And he knows that regardless, Dexter, Ron, or Red is going to execute him.
Well, and he says he knew one day this is where he would end up.
Yeah.
Not necessarily on Dexter's table, but he knew
somebody was going to kill him.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting that when Dexter revealed who he was, Lowell had a different reaction, right?
Very
he was like,
different.
oh, fuck. I think that he had a tiny bit of an idea that he might have been able to talk Red out of it. But when he heard Bay Harbor Butcher, he was like, nope, definitely killing me.
Yeah.
Like,
but he kept saying
Bay Harbor Butcher does.
You. And it almost made me think he has some kind of connection to the Bay Harbor Butcher. Because if I'm not mistaken, in the first Dexter series, was there not a serial killer who was taking tattoos
I don't remember.
of people?
That's a good question.
Listeners,
you let us know.
Let me know, because I'm 99.9% sure there was, it may, but I think they ended up making it a gang, not gang related, but linking it to something else. But I have a feeling, I have a feeling. So listeners, let me know if I'm right or if I'm wrong, or if you
That would
remember
be
that
so
storyline,
great.
because there was more to the, it was the fuck, but the you, like he was trying to say, like, I know you or something. I just feel like there's that was a throwaway. There
I
was
think
more
I
to
found
that than that.
something.
Yeah.
If you-
I also thought that Neil Patrick Harris was doing a really odd affectation or accent. There was something about the way he was talking where every now and then there'd be a little bit of a southern drawl in there. And he is too skilled of an actor for that to be accidental or inadvertent. I was like, this accent is weird. What is going on with it? And then he dies, and I was like, maybe we'll never know. But maybe we're going to find out more information about him, even though he's been killed already. That would be cool.
Becky, to answer a little bit of your questions with a quick search, I was able to find in the original Dexter series, the killer known as George King, also called the Skinner, removed skin, which would include tattoos from his victims as a form of torture. That's the only thing that I was able to find, but it has something on there, but
maybe I'm just reaching.
hey,
I just feel like there's something there with that. You like, but he didn't have time to finish because he was, dead. But
the look of shock on his face as he was dead was like, whoa.
All right. Well, that is all I have in main points. You guys got any main points, little points, or anything else you want to talk about that we did not go over?
I have a couple of small notes.
Sure.
First, I agree with Kelsey from last week. Uma's haircut is not working for me.
It sucks.
It's not asymmetrical enough. So it just looks like somebody made a mistake.
It does. It looks like she went and got her hair cut, and Peter Dinklage called, and she was like, hey, I need you back here. And she's like, I'm going to have to come back and get the other half of this cut off.
Yeah, it doesn't look intentional. I really want to know what happened to Mia's sister, where she is now, what happened after Mia killed her mother's boyfriend. Like, I want to know more about her backstory and the mother and the sister now. I really want to know where those people are.
And I think we'll get it, because she seems like she's going to be a very big focal point in Dexter's circle, and outside of him figuring out if he needs to kill her, something.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get it.
Yeah.
And I think that the vegan thing isn't just meant to be funny. I think there's some symbolism there about Dexter being deprived, or Dexter having to forego something or abstain from something that he loves. There's some kind of metaphor, and I haven't figured out what it is yet.
I feel like it's going to be a slip. He's going to slip.
Oh, and then it'll be a clue.
And it's going to be a clue to tip off either the, Prater or Charlie or
Mia. But vegans cheat all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Dexter said things like, I've never been able to say those things out loud before. Like, I've never been able to be honest with people before. But I feel like in the original show that there were people that he did have those moments with. He just always ended up having to kill them. But didn't
Deborah
bond with Jimmy Smits? And didn't he sometimes compare notes a little bit with the Trinity Killer and with that girlfriend? There was a little bit of him being able to be honest with people. I never saw the season where Deb finds out about him, so I don't know about that one.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think this is different in the sense that he doesn't have to explain. He doesn't have to guide anyone through what he's doing. These people already know what serial killing is. They know how to do it. They know all the ins and outs. They know what it feels like. So it's different in that he can say something, but he's not going to have to explain himself. He doesn't have to convince somebody, okay, what I'm doing is not bad. It's
who I am.
Normal.
Yeah. It's his own people. AA meeting.
Yeah.
And when is this incinerator? Where is this completely unmanned, working incinerator that's in a junk room? Where did he find that?
In the original episode, after he killed what's his face and Red, he said he Googled where people don't go, like the worst part of New York City where even the cops don't bother to go. And
Yeah.
that's where he found that incinerator and is choosing to dispose of the bodies. I think it's just a convenient way
Yeah,
for
it's
us
super
to have
convenient.
for him to get rid of the bodies, but they did at least mention why he chose that place.
I did enjoy when he was like, Lowell, meet Red. That was funny.
Yeah. One other thing that I thought was freaking hilarious was when they're at the party and Al is in the background showing Grumpy Pants talking about his sweet Mabel and scrolling through and showing pictures of Mabel. And this guy's like, I could not care less
Yeah.
about your family. That was just so cute. I just love Eric Stone Street. All right. Anything else?
No, I have nothing else. No notes. No other thoughts.
Pennylicious?
I am good. I ran out of time. I really wanted to look up all the music because I felt like it was really good music, but
There
Yeah.
was
ran
a
out of
lot
time.
of good stuff.
There was a lot of good stuff. I couldn't find anything myself personally. The only, other than the Bee Gees song, the only other song that the girl at the tattoo shop, as she's walking, she's listening to some sort of new metal style music, but the lyrics were kind of and reminiscing of what was going on.
Yeah.
And that's all I got out of it. But I couldn't find anything. Maybe some of you listeners out there will get some keen ears to it.
All right. Well, let's talk about final thoughts. Yay or nay, Penny?
Definitive yay. Thoroughly enjoyed the episode. No notes.
Excellent. Marky Mark?
It's an absolute yay. And Kelsey was saying last week that was her favorite episode so far of the season. No, this one is mine. This is like appeased everything that I had, including time.
Yeah, it's a big yay for me. I wrote here, amazing. Really love how these last two episodes are bringing us back to the early OG days. Humor, darkness, suspense, emotion, drama. The way they're brilliantly pulling all these storylines together. The freaking cast, holy shit. The writing is on point. The directing, sound, cinematography, all of it. This feels like the payoff we've finally been waiting for.
Yeah.
Yay! Oh, that was fun.
Awesome.
All right. Well, let us move into show notes and news. Found an article via Collider where Michael C. Hall was interviewed. This isn't the full article, though. Sorry, guys. It is long, but there's just so much goodness. But we'll post the full article in show notes. But Mark, you want to start us off?
Sure. In an article via Collider written by Tanya Hussein in an exclusive interview with Collider for the series' 4th episode, Call Me Red, Paul admits that this new chapter pushes his character into an unprecedented territory and element he has found equally exciting as an actor to take on. He's never been in an environment of more concentrated darkness than he's in the threshold of the episode. That's what he says. With its murder museum filled with twisted Easter eggs from John Wayne Gacy to the New York Ripper, episode 4 takes Dexter deep into a world that mirrors his darkest urges while daring him to stay in control. Paul says, I think he's enticed by the idea that he can have sense of camaraderie and intimacy with these like-minded individuals. On the other hand, they're all undeniably code-worthy and need to be taken out. So what's he going to do? That's part of the fun of all of it.
And he goes on to break down Dexter's guilt and the Batista showdown. Collider asks, firstly, I loved seeing all those familiar faces from the past. I think he's talking about in episode 1 with all the ghosts. I was so excited to see Dokes, Miguel, and Arthur. So I'm wondering, with Dexter being haunted by his own ghosts, it's also his own guilt speaking to him. What do you think it says about his psyche that his dark passenger is now this chorus of regrets? Is he using it to steer himself morally or just to excuse himself again? Hall replies, it was a really great place to start for the character. And as an actor, just to re-engage with all those people who I've worked with and who I love, and just root the character in the rich mythology of his past and his internal landscape. I think a lot of what's happening in that space between Alive and Dead and Dexter's fever dreams is about him working through some regret and guilt that he's actually ready, ultimately, to put down. Oh, how nice for you, Dexter. I think the character is finally able to move past his penance and not forget the past and honor the past and move forward in a way that honors it. And as much as he's recommitted to the code and recommitted to not indulging in certain things that he's indulged in the past and that have gotten him and the people he cares about in trouble, I think he's in a place where he can finally put some things down and reclaim himself. Like, I kind of don't want him to put things down, but okay. All right.
So they asked him a question on what it was like seeing Batista again, and Hall says, "We have such a rich and long-lasting history that we can just sit in. I think it's really bittersweet, that scene. It's a reunion of old friends, but there's so much new dark water under the bridge. They're waiting at the top of this ocean of dark revelation and secret and the cat and mouse dynamic. It was pretty rich. Batista has emerged as an adversary, and Dexter doesn't want that. He's very fond of that man. In his old life, Batista was probably as close to a normal friend as he ever had, and I think he hopes that Batista will walk away. But given who he knows Batista to be, and given what he knows Batista suspects, that's unlikely."
And they end with, "Can you tease how much darker the season gets after those first four and what this really means for Dexter's legacy?" Paul replies, "He's never been in an environment of more concentrated darkness than he's in the threshold of episode 4. I think it's reasonable to think that things are going to get pretty colorful and gnarly. I think one thing that Dexter is experiencing with this new lease or second chance at life is an appetite to take chances and do things in new ways and maybe riskier ways. I mean, he's ultimately honoring the code in a rigid way, but he has this appetite for risk. I think he's a thrill seeker. He wants to ride increasingly big waves, which we've seen before, even in the original series, as well as Original Sin. New Blood was interesting, but I think Original Sin and the original series taps along these little monikers of who Dexter is, because he kind of edges on that boundary. And even with Harry in his head, he still walks that fine line of actually doing the code and then bending it to his will of what he needs to at times.
We will post the article link in show notes for this article. And Mark, you mentioned something about something else that you saw.
We're at a time now where San Diego Comic-Con is upon us, and a lot of things come out with interviews and everything else. Well, Screen Rant attended the Dexter Resurrection panel at San Diego Comic-Con and learned that Resurrection executive producer and writer Scott Reynolds actually has a small cameo in episode 4 as infamous serial killer John Wayne Gacy. It was the flashback scene. The footage of Gacy actually comes from Dexter Original Sin episode 7, which you could see in Dexter's mind at that point. However, meaning Reynolds has recently had parts in 2 of the 4 Dexter shows. So Scott Reynolds also has a long history with Dexter franchise. Reynolds wrote 18 episodes of the original Dexter from season 2 until season 8, 2 episodes of New Blood, 1 episode of Original Sin, and 1 episode of Resurrection. Interestingly enough, Reynolds also played a murder victim in season 7. That means that Reynolds is one of just 3 people to appear in 3 Dexter shows. I thought that was interesting.
That is very cool.
That is cool.
I didn't know any of that.
If I were a writer or producer on a show, I would 100% ask to be in it as even just like a background character, like an extra, like somebody in a restaurant or something. But like being a murder victim on Dexter, that's awesome.
That
Awesome.
would be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It's kind of like Peter Benchley in Jaws and Michael Crichton and, what was it? Westworld.
Yeah, or Stan Lee and so many Marvel movies.
Marvel stuff.
Hitchcock started that. He was always in the background of all of his movies.
Yes,
There's
he
always
was.
like a little Hitchcock sighting.
All right. Well, let's move into feedback. We did get a little bit of feedback this week.
We got some voicemail from a lovely friend and my co-host for Pounds the Pixels podcast, Steve Brown.
Okay, I have to speak totally for the audience here. Yes, it's Dexter, original sin, original sin, original sin. How many freaking times did I say it in the last episode? Fucking ass. Original sin, Dexter, original sin. Okay, sorry about that. Now, let's get started with Dexter's Resurrection, Season 1, Episode 4. Call Me Red. Ooh, Dexter's going to pretend to be this guy. Is he going to wear the hood? Oh, yeah, he's taking a selfie with it. Uma Thurman driving the limousine, and Dexter just said the title of the episode, Call Me Red, mic drop. And she won't let him ride in the back. Oh, Peter Dinklage is the man of the manor. Oh, so he's not a serial killer Moriarty, he's just a serial killer fan. Okay. As the background music is the original Dexter theme. Oh, wasn't Pogo the Clown, wasn't that his first serial kill that we learned in Dexter Original Sin? Oh, and he knows the Trinity Killer killed in Forest, not Flores. What? Oh, he even has the slides. I think you talked about it in the last episode, right? Oh, Mia, Kristen Ritter. Took me a second to recognize her, but Jessica Jones.
She looks great, by the way.
And he said, Call Me Red again, title of the episode, mic drop. I don't know wine, but $4,000 a bottle? Whoa. Oh, and here we have Al and Neil Patrick Harris as another serial killer. Oh, and we see Batista. He meets the fake Jim Lindsay and learns that Harrison Morgan is alive. Oh, wow. That tomahawk steak looks good. Apparently, Red was a vegan. Ew. Kristen Ritter calls it the itch. Sorry, Kristen Ritter. And Lowell just made the top of Dexter's list. Angel meets Harrison. Oh, and we find out that Jamie is now a PhD. Good for her. Well, he doesn't tell Harrison that Dexter is alive, though. Oh my goodness, this episode's only halfway through, and he's just told Harrison that he thought that Dexter's a Bay Harbor butcher, and there's still half of the episode left to play. He considers himself a lone wolf, not an alone wolf. Ash versus Evil Dead reference there. Ooh, Harrison, make the move and get rejected. Sorry, buddy. Ooh, and now Dexter's going to go after Lowell. Oh, but he's jogging with Kristen Ritter. Okay, seriously, I have a problem. Kristen Ritter, though, wow. Lady Vision was in Tulsa. That's in Oklahoma. Oh, Dexter, thanks for the run. Gotta go. Oh, Kristen Ritter's in the shower, though. Okay, so much for Lowell, the tattoo serial killer. The repeat of Tonight's the Night just gets me every time. That's a Dexterism. Oh, Angel and Harrison meeting. Oh, is this what's for next week now? And they're having coffee together and talking about the Bay Harbor Butcher. Oh, Dexter reveals himself to Harrison right at the end. And on to next week.
I don't blame
Steve.
you on the Kristen Ritter front. I'm straight, but Kristen Ritter is gorgeous.
Yes.
So, Steve, my sympathies.
She really, when she was in the park and talking with him, I just kept saying in my head, she looks amazing.
Yeah.
She really looks
She's
amazing.
so beautiful and captivating.
She's a nice person to meet too at conventions and everything. I met her once, but it was a virtual. But she and I got to talk, and I found it great because her husband's a musician. She was in the studio, and she literally during that time during the pandemic were taking care of their child that they just had. So she's a mom, and she put out a mommy book. By the way, she put out a book for kids. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's cool. I love Jessica Jones. If I wasn't podcasting about Buffy, I might podcast about Jessica Jones.
We did cover that on Panels to Pixels when it first came out. We did all the seasons. And oddly enough, you listeners, they actually completed Jessica Jones in comparison to all the other Netflix Marvel shows.
I heard she's coming back, though, in the new Daredevil reboot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about that.
Yep. And they're filming, actually, Bernthal was found filming in Queens 2 days ago for his role as Punisher in the next
awesome
Disney Plus Marvel show.
We also got a voicemail from the lovely Kelsey, who was on last week.
Hello. Kudos to Mark for calling that the blood slides would end up in the trophy collection.
That was Becky.
That was me, Kelsey.
Yeah, that was Becky.
and sold by an FBI agent with a gambling addiction. Of course, he's ends up as number 5 at the dinner, and he's the vegan. I think he could have said that those things they found in his apartment were for like a vegan girlfriend, but whatever. It's funnier that he's eating cauliflower while they're eating steak. I figure it's probably best he didn't jump in the shower with the serial killer that kills sexual predators, just in case that was a setup. I don't know what her code is. All I know is she was the bitch in apartment 23.
Oh my gosh, she was.
That is true.
Yep. The fingerprint and the sensor. I know he has a mold so he can make the fingerprint again, but it seems fallible, particularly over multiple meetings over the next couple weeks. So I'm wondering when his actual identity will come out. I had never thought about Edgar Allan Poe and Dexter in the same context until they pushed the Telltale Heart narrative in this episode. But damn, there is a lot of crossover between Edgar Allan Poe and his stories and Dexter. But yeah, looking forward to what you guys have to say. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Yay. Thank you, Kelsey. And Kelsey's going to be back joining us for another couple of episodes as well. So I'm excited about that.
Hold on. There's a rap tapping on my chamber door. Got it.
Nevermore.
So we got a note from Deanna Crabtree via the Dexter Resurrection fan page on our episode 3 coverage. And she simply says, ooh, sexy Dexy, ooh la la. Deanna, I'm not sure, but I'm going to assume you're referencing Dexter in the turtleneck. Because,
that's a good look.
It is, isn't it?
Like a bulky turtleneck on a dude with a turtleneck sweater. Yeah.
But it lays perfectly on their chest. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I agree. Sexy Dexy. Well, thank you guys all for your feedback, and please keep it coming. I say it every week and I'll say it again. Just hearing from listeners and knowing that people are out there enjoying what we do, it just means the world. So please keep the feedback coming. And if you would like to leave us some feedback or say hi, you can send an email or a voice message as an attachment like Steve and Kelsey to what's on tonight, the number 2 at gmail.com. You can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode. And you can leave feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. And we can also be found on Instagram at What's On Tonight Podcast and the number 2. We would greatly appreciate it if you'd leave a comment, like, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice. So, y'all, what do you say we sit down to dinner with some serial killers and share where listeners can hear us? Podcast recommendations, TV suggestions, or just anything else you want to talk about. Penny, what do you got?
Well, we already talked about still slaying and sinners, but I would also like to suggest for people who are Edgar Allan Poe fans, the absolutely brilliant Netflix miniseries Fall of the House of Usher, which is basically like an Edgar Allan Poe remix in modern times. It's brilliant, by the showrunner Mike Flanagan. And that reminded me how much I loved the very recent Mike Flanagan movie, The Life of Chuck, which I think is undermarketed and underappreciated. And I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. And you might want to hear Becky and me together on the Murder Magnets podcast. If you like Poker Face, or even if you haven't checked out Poker Face, I recommend checking it out on Peacock. It's a really fun show, and we had a lot of fun talking about it. And finally, Foundation season 3 is back. I love Foundation. It's such a good show. I want more people to watch it.
Awesome. Mark?
Well, I can be found on Panels to Pixels podcast. Steve and I are covering Ironheart. We're getting back to that. Sorry, I had a really bad week last week with work and everything, but we're going to be back on track. Same thing with Sandman Cast, which will be both on Podcastica and Panels to Pixels podcast. You could also hear me on Adrenaline Cinema podcast as soon as Jamie and I get back to the Friday the 13th movies. So we'll keep you updated through our Facebook group. You could hear me on the Pirate Core music podcast as well. And check that out when we come up with new material when that comes out. Obviously, just go to our Facebook group or go to the Facebook page for Pirate Core Entertainment Podcast, or go to the Pounds to Pixels podcast Facebook page, as well as Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. As far as other suggestions, TV podcast industries possibly for their coverage with Ironheart, and they're going to be doing Fantastic Four just like I am for Pounds to Pixels podcast. So check out Eric and the other guys and have fun with that. And check out all the other stuff that's out on podcastica.com.
So the cast of us is back and are resuming their rewatch of The Walking Dead. And like Mark just said, along with Penny and Kira and Sam and Still Slaying, there's a ton of great content over on podcastica.com. And I'd also like to suggest for those who love learning about important women in history to please check out Mandy's amazing podcast, Dinner for Her. The only TV recommendation I have, and I spent Thursday and Friday evening binging this entire series, is to check out The Hunting Wives on Netflix. I'm not even going to, I didn't know what it was about. I just saw it. I like Brittany Snow and was like, I'll see what this is about. And 2 days later, I'm done. So please check it out. It's very, very good. And as always, a big thank you to our leader, Mark, and Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform. Please visit the Pirate Core page. You can find it on our Facebook page. And there you can find more about our podcast, as well as other podcasts that we've mentioned, like Dinner for Her with Mandy, Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, and Panels to Pixels Podcast, as well as other podcasts Mark is working on.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of episode 4 of Dexter Resurrection. We will be back next week to cover episode 5, entitled Murder Horny.
Yeah.
I love that title.
I think it's amazing. It made me think of Poker Face, Penny. I was like, that would have been an amazing Poker Face episode.
And it would have been like about hornets' nests or something.
Yeah, something completely nothing to do with actually being horny.
Yeah, murder hornets.
Well, we want to thank everyone for listening. The best thing to hold on to in life is each other. So please hang tight to those close to you and remind them every day what a blessing they are. And thank you, Penny, for coming on and joining us. And we look forward to having you back for another episode this season.
I can't wait.
I'm Becky.
I'm Red. Oh, wait. No, I'm Mark.
And I'm Penny.
We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight.
Bye.